finally come to compare each of these sticks. Which ones will come out on top? And will I be left standing at the end? Let's get into it. Alright, so in comparing these sticks, I'll be playing 2 bars out of a cadence of mine, old easy cadence of mine. The first one I've actually ever written. And I'll play with both the hard tips and the rubber-sided tips, so you can hear the difference. I will say I didn't realize how bad a practice I was until I started working on this video. And so I was struggling just to get through those bars. My hands kept falling asleep, so I need to definitely work on my chops some more. But yeah, so let's start out talking about the Paul Rennick sticks. Alright, so taking a look at the Paul Rennick sticks, they came out about 10 years ago in 2015, a little over 10 years ago. One thing that's always really bothered me about them was that the tips of them I just think look weird. They look like little nipples on them, but apparently it's like a bullet tip. It creates more weight. I don't know. I'll let Paul talk about it himself.
We developed this like a drum set stick. My upbringing was heavily rooted in drum set playing, and I just thought that the stick should feel like that. So we came up with sort of a barrel bullet combination of the bead. The tip of it hangs out just far enough so that it adds a little bit of front weight to it, so that it gave the drum a darker, warmer sound inside. It's kind of a natural balance. You don't have to work too hard. It doesn't fly back too fast on you. And it had a diameter that I felt like wasn't overkill in terms of indoor groups. We use this primarily for that. I've noticed that over the years that younger players find this an easy stick to use because of the diameter.
It's interesting to find out why the beads are the way they are, but I'm not noticing too much of a difference between just having that little bit of extra nipple on there, I guess, than not having it. But it might just be just me, just because my hands need to be redeveloped. What I do think is interesting, though, is kind of cool, is that he does bring up a good point about, in this interview, he brings up a good point about how tenors used to just usually use mallets, and it's more of a transition more to sticks and everything. So here's him talking about that as well.
The next step was what to do with the quad line, what to do with the tenors. And back when I was playing and teaching, everybody used mallets. The first time people used sticks, I think it was really attractive because the sound that shots make, the sound that if you're playing on the smallest drum, it sounds different. But the problem was they felt like snare drum sticks on quads. And I think that was the one thing that kind of initiated the process of coming up with a solution. To have a stick that felt like a mallet. And I remember.
So I have to say, I do remember back in the day, I think the first real sticks for tenors were like the shorties. And although they had at the time, I can't remember if they do still or not, they had actually like a handle on there. Like a grooved handle on there. But they still kind of felt and played a lot like snare sticks. And I remember us even like in high school playing them like snare sticks, even though they had the handle and stuff on there for a match grip. But I think the history behind why the Paul Rennick started designed the way they were is really cool, because essentially it was to have that dual sound like you would with the aluminum mallets, which I've played with before. I wasn't really ever fond of them because the handles always slipped off, at least from my experience. But I like that that's the idea he was going with. Here's Paul once again talking about it.
And so it was a really very handy compositional trick to flip the stick to use your handle. And I think that was something I missed a lot. I did that a lot. I used to rely on that to get more mileage out of the same pair of sticks, so you didn't have to plan the stick changes. You didn't have to pull them out for 2 to 4 bars to make a mallet change to figure out how to come back then. You would simply just 1 count, 2 counts, flip it to handles, you get a totally different sound, and then flip it right back to stick.
All right, so let's actually get into what these things sound like. Here's the hard tips first. All right, now the soft tips. So I really like the way they feel in my hands, just because like they're kind of lighter, and as you know from the previous video where I compare the flips and the mizzles, I like the lighter ones just because they don't completely destroy your concert touch. However, again, I'm not a fan of the tip of them, but since they are the OG original ones, let's see. Let's go ahead and put these at A tier. I think that works. Okay, so moving on, let's just go ahead to the most recent ones now, which would be Mike McIntosh's flips. This video right here, or I talk more about the mizzles and the flips actually, and the mizzles. So yeah, check out this video here. Right now, let's go ahead and get to the hard tips. And now the soft tips. So these were significantly heavier, from what I could tell, but the hard tips were very similar to how the Rennicks are, just minus the nips, which I like that they actually took off. But I noticed that the rubber aspects on them, like the soft tips, they, at least when I can tell, they tend to stick to the drum a little bit, which is weird. Like it's harder to do sweeps, which I discussed this before, and the taper on the back end is a bit much when you're flipping them over. So let's see this. I'm gonna put these at C tier. All right, moving on. Let's go to the narwhals. Okay, the little guy's so cute.
You know, you want to have personality. You want to have a little bit of your own expression. So this really came from my daughter Fiona, who's now 11, and she was like, "Dad, I think it'd be cool to call it the narwhal."
All right, so diving into the Vic First sticks here. So one of the things that Colin was actually talking about in his video about the narwhals was just trying to make sure that it still kind of functions like a snare stick, so that the line between your forearm and the end of the stick is still a straight line, which I think they did really well. Now they did actually come out after the John Mape sticks, just by a month. So it looks to me like the rubber ends were just recolored. I didn't really notice that much of a difference between the rubber ends of the Mapes or the narwhals. Anyway, let's get into what I found playing with them. Here's the hard tips. All right, now here are the soft tips. All right, so these I noticed were a bit heavier, which I was kind of surprised about because they're similar in size to the Mapes. But the wood seems a bit more dense. That being said, I really liked how articulate they were and everything. But the weight of them really kind of put me off, which I really wanted to like them because I like the design, everything, I like the I like the blue narwhal and stuff. I think it's really cool. Also, I think it's really cool his daughter came up with it and whatnot. But anyways, let's go and rate these things. All right. So like I was saying, because of the weight aspect of it, I'm gonna have to put these in B tier. Sorry, little guy. I really liked you. Okay, now let's get going to the last pair, which would be the John Mape sticks, the dual tone sticks. And here he is talking a little bit about them.
And the non-negotiable thing here is that we didn't want this weight to affect how the stick feels when it's on its regular playing side. This is the side we would probably play with most of the time. But we really like the idea of creating a way where you can get to this quickly. It doesn't have to be another implement, right? You can just do a quick flip and immediately we can have a different warm sound. But we didn't.
So he does go on to talk about that when Lions play with them, they hopes that they're really kind of fun to play with. I think they are. I really like these sticks a lot. But here, let's go and let you check out what it sounded like when I was playing with them. All right, now here are the soft tips. Okay, so these that was actually the first ones I recorded. But anyway, let's get to rating these things. Like I was talking about before, like I do like these ones a lot. I like the weight on them. I like the articulation on them. I like how easy they are to move around the drums with. That being said, like it's like with these ones, I think that the rubber needs to be broken in, like with the Bromark ones, so these stick a little bit. But I am not gonna lie, I'm a little biased, a little here, just because I just not realizing he's a Yamaha person, and I very much prefer Yamaha myself. So because of that, we're gonna put these up at the S tier. Why? Why, you may ask? Because it's my rating. Listen, I can. So, anyway, S tier it is. So those are my ratings. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Which ones do you like? Do you have ones that you prefer more over the others? Do you like the regular classic sticks or mallets over these ones, or do you prefer the felt end ones, or even the older puffy ones? Let me know what you guys think in the description or in the comments below. I'll be sure to leave links to all of the videos where each artist talks about theirs. I know I didn't include any from Mike McIntosh, and I'll be sure to try and find a video of him talking about his stuff and put that in the description as well. And yeah, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, all the fun stuff. And also be sure to check out the merch store and everything. Grab yourself a shirt or socks, even. I do the socks. Or just any of the fun things I have on there. Until then, I'll see you guys next week.